China is currently enjoying an archaeological golden age. It's comparable to the discoveries of the ancient Egyptian tombs. Just to animate this fact, to make it vivid, I typed into Google search box recent archaeological finds in China and look at the incredible array of discoveries, things like these bronze vessels, which we are about to discover. Certainly the skeletons of the animals buried in the tombs of rulers, which we're about to talk about, gold masks. It's a wonder, and it's all being studied, and it's all changing how we understand China's past. But the one key thing that is absolutely clear is that the vast majority of the art that was produced in Bronze Age China was produced first and foremost for the tomb. The tomb was a site of power, spiritual power and political power. So these marvels of the tomb that we are about to study all date to China's Bronze Age. That term is used to mark a society that has developed metalwork. That technological development usually goes along with written records and a complex hierarchical social stratification. And bronze is the premier material of power, spirit, and status in Bronze Age China. So, it's important that they tell you a little bit here. They give you a kind of a side note to talk about it, one particular technique of piece mold casting, different from the lost wax casting you saw in India. Don't get too bogged down in this yet. It's really important. We're going to come into it later, but I want you to focus first and foremost on the flow of history from this introduction to the next page, where they step into the first major dynasty that we know a solid amount about from the Bronze Age. So the Shang dynasty as a dynasty is a succession of kings who rule from capitals in the Yellow River Valley. And this is the beginning of a Chinese history that can more or less be organized in a very clear fashion by dynastic succession. So we actually can talk about the history of China. We will find that we will organize the history of China in terms of dynastic eras. In fact, there is a dynasty song that you can learn to sing to memorize the succession of the proper sequence of the dynasty. Here's a really nice annotated outline of the dynasties, which I will link for you, and which in a very kind of clear graphic way breaks down the movement from Neolithic cultures to the very ancient Xia dynasty that is still being kind of archaeologically interpreted and understood, and to the Shang dynasty that we are focusing on. But understand that the Shang dynasty belongs to a sequence of dynasties. The Zhou dynasty that comes next will still be part of this same cultural stream, as will the Qin dynasty into the Han dynasty, although that will become a pivot point. So for all three of those dynasties, I'm laying them out in a timeline fashion here with images of the artworks. Overwhelmingly, these are bronze ritual objects in which there is spirit contact with the dead, with the ancestors as advisors. And so this is an art that is used for buried in the elite tombs. It is an art in which death and the afterlife are related to the power that the ancestors transmit to the living ruling class. So in the art historical principle is that we can only understand these kinds of bronze vessels if we understand how they were made for the people who originally used them, for their original audience. The textbook explains their walled cities, their palaces, their vast royal tombs, and the fact that they lived in a world of tremendous perpetual warfare. Small states fighting other states. Their culture spreads widely as there are these conquests and invasions. The society is very clearly highly stratified. So we might have to understand that the bronze technology is used for weapons and is used for the vessels that contact the spirit. So these are both key implements of power. The other thing that's so interesting about them is that the Shang priests communicated with the supernatural world through oracle bones. Let me show you what that means. One of the wonderful things about the Shang Dynasty culture is that we have written records, and even better, the written records are actually what are called oracle bones communications with the spirits. The term oracle bones is a little bit misleading because they were not just bones. What happened, this one, is a turtle plastron. If you're not familiar with turtle plastrons, that's the belly side of the turtle shell. And what's happened here is there has been a divination, a divining, a prediction of the future that uses omens, and the process of divining the future is heating a tool onto the plastron to create cracks, which are then interpreted as messages from the beyond. So the oracle bones have questions concerning the future of the hunt, of war, of agriculture. Will the hunt tomorrow be successful? Will the battle be won? Will the crops flourish? And even what's going to happen with Lady Howe's childbearing? She's going to give birth. Is it going to be good? So in this case, we know that the oracle bones answered, yes, it will be good. In this culture, the definition of good meant it would be a boy. And in fact, it was not good. It was a girl. So these are our earliest examples of Chinese writing and the first documents of Chinese history. It's literally the rulers consulting with the spirits as they are making plans and policies.